Tamara always said, once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
Giants Nation, 96% of you watching aren't subscribed yet. If you're loving the Big Blue Breakdowns, hit that subscribe button and join the team.
Giants fans, NFL fans, Cleveland Brown fans, welcome back to another episode of Only a Giant. I'm your host, Michael Doherty, here to talk about the Week 3 2024 NFL matchup against the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. Cleveland is currently 1-1, and the New York Giants are unfortunately 0-2. So here to talk about the game, get into some of the details, see what we got to do to come out victorious here for the Giants. And I really kind of want to look at the Browns first. We'll kind of just jump right into the Browns depth chart, because I feel like the Browns, they're just that team that I feel like doesn't get a lot of media coverage. And oh, by the way, we are here with our Eli Manning jersey today, nominated to go into the Hall of Fame. Got to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, so just wanted to throw that on there. Obviously, the name of this podcast is Only a Giant because of Eli Manning with his famous speech when he retired. So just wanted to throw that out there, give a little love to Eli Manning. All right, so back over to the Browns. We're going to look at the Browns depth chart a little bit here, just because I feel like I mentioned, this isn't a team that's covered very well in the national media. So a lot of people may not know who the Browns are. You might know the obvious people like Deshaun Watson, who's under a lot of scrutiny in the NFL and just in general. And then Myles Garrett. Those are your two main guys on this team that probably most people know if you're an NFL fan. But who don't you know? And this is kind of what you're looking at. Offensively, obviously, you have Deshaun Watson. You have Jameis Winston backing him up, and even Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who kind of was on the trade block maybe a little bit, wasn't sure if he would get cut, what would happen there, and they ended up sticking with him. Your running backs right now, Jerome Ford is your starter. You have Deonta Foreman, Pierre Strong, Nick Chubb, obviously still out dealing with that injury coming back from. Wide receivers, Amari Cooper, Cedric Tillman backing him up, Jerry Jeudy with James Prochet backing him up, and Elijah Moore, I believe, is playing in the slot. Jamari Thrash is there as well. He hasn't really gotten a lot of time yet. David Njoku is their tight end. However, he is battling an injury. I don't know if he'll play this week. Offensive line, you're dealing with Jedrick Wills coming back from an injury. Looks like he may play this week. Joel Bitonio, Ethan Posick, Wyatt Teller, and Jack Conklin. That's your offense. For the defense, and this is kind of the strength of the defense, and this is kind of why I wanted to go over their depth chart just a tiny bit before we really jump into anything else, is because this is a unit that could wreck this game for the New York Giants. So obviously you have Myles Garrett, you have Delvin Tomlinson, who we're very familiar with, played for the Giants, well, I guess at this point, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe somewhere around there. Shelby Harris, Zadarius Smith, game wrecker. But the big guy that I really wanted to focus on, other than Myles Garrett for me, is Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who is an absolute unit. He's a stud. He's a little undersized as a linebacker, but he flies all over the place. He makes plays everywhere. They do have a couple other guys as well. Jordan Hicks, who we are fairly familiar with his time with the Eagles. Devin Bush, one of the better cornerbacks in the league here with Denzel Ward. Great safety with Grant Delpit. And Greg Newsome is a nickelback, and Martin Emerson. Now, some of those guys you don't really care too much about, but the guys you really want to focus in on, Grant Delpit, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and Myles Garrett. Now, the Cleveland Browns as a team, like I mentioned, they are 1-1. If you look at their offensive production so far, it's not a lot. Deshaun Watson's completed 58% of his passes for 355 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, quarterback rating, at least according to ESPN, of 63. Not great. He's been sacked 8 times as well. Rushing game, they've ran for about 218 yards total between the two games. 108 of that came from Jerome Ford. Deshaun Watson obviously has some carries, and Deonta Foreman a little bit as well. Not a strong unit as far as the run game is concerned with the Cleveland Browns, really with the offense in general, but we'll get back over to that in a moment here. Leading target guy right now, believe it or not, is actually Elijah Moore, which I would not have expected unless I watched more Cleveland Brown games or looked at the stats. So he has 14 targets Actually, Jerry Jeudy actually has 14 as well. But Elijah has 9 catches for 53 yards. Jerry Jeudy, 8 catches for 98 yards and a touchdown. And then it's kind of a spattering after that. Njoku has 4 catches. Jordan Atkins, backup tight end, has 4 catches. Amari Cooper, believe it or not, only has 5 catches. He is leading the team in targets, actually, with 17 targets. So if I said Elijah Moore, I was wrong. It's Amari Cooper. But he only has 5 catches, it's kind of crazy. The only passing touchdown or receiving touchdown at this point has been Jerry Jeudy, only guy that has actually caught a pass so far. Defensively, and this is the unit, like I mentioned earlier, that really could kind of wreak havoc. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, 12 solo tackles, 16 total, 2 tackles for loss with a pass defensed. Other than that, a smattering of players. Myles Garrett, 2 sacks. Jordan Hicks with a sack. Just not a lot going on there otherwise stat-wise, but you just know this is a tough unit. A unit that is very strong. 7 sacks in the year so far in 2 games for the Cleveland Browns. And we'll jump over to the Giants. Obviously, I'm not really going to worry about the depth chart, but we went over the Browns stats. We might as well go over the Giants stats. Daniel Jones, low completion percentage here, 54%, 360 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions with a quarterback rating of 66.6. Actually better than Deshaun Watson, believe it or not. Devin Singletary, 132 yards rushing, averaging 5 yards carry with 1 touchdown. And then the receiving game, what else do you really say other than Malik Neighbors? 193 yards on 15 catches, 1 touchdown. Unfortunately, 1 big drop, but that wasn't the only drop the Giants have had. The Giants have actually had quite a bit of drops this year. Wandell, 8 catches, 62 yards. Darius Slayton, 6 catches, 59 yards. And then not much else. Devin Singletary, 5 catches for 15 yards. And I believe the majority of that 15 yards may have came on 1 play as a screen. So I believe he has 4 other catches with 0 yards. Could be wrong on that, but I believe I'm pretty close to being right on that. Defensively for the Giants, Drew Phillips, believe it or not, leads the team with tackles with 16, 10 solo, 3 tackles for loss, obviously a sack. Mike McFadden in 1 game action has second on the team in tackles with 13. 8 of those being solo, 1 sack. Pinnock, 2 sacks. Bobby Okereke, 1 sack. Sexy Dexy, 1 sack. And that's about it. Obviously, this game you do hope a little bit more, that you get a little bit more out of Sexy Dexy and Kayvon and so be it, Brent Burns. But that's what we're looking at right now. So let's jump over into actually kind of previewing the units and kind of what we see. So Giants offensively. The Giants are currently passing at a rate of 64% in the NFL compared to running the ball at 36%. Not really that surprising, but this may be an issue in this game. I think obviously that's the offense that you kind of expected, but we need to change that probably. And the point for that, the Browns defense ranks 8th in the NFL with 5.8 yards per completion, and first in the NFL with completion percentage against, which is like at 53% or something around there. They're also ranked 13th in the NFL in passing yards against, only allowing about 180 yards per game. So what does that mean? Yeah, it's early. 2 games in, they played Dak Prescott and they played Trevor Lawrence. 2 teams that you think would probably pass the ball pretty well, but they didn't. The weakness kind of this Browns defense right now is probably their rush defense. Browns currently give up about 5 yards per rush, which ranks about 26th in the NFL. And they're allowing about 114 yards per game rushing, which actually ranks pretty good. But I think that's partially due to the fact that a lot of teams that they're playing against like to pass. Dallas pass first. The Jacksonville Jaguars pass first. Not a huge running team, even though they like to be. So what does that mean for the Giants? Giants offensively, I think they need to flip the script this week. They need to control this game with the running game. They need to be around that 60% rushing, 40% passing. They need to let Devin Singletary get in a rhythm early and see if we can establish the run game. See if we can get those combo, duo blocks, double teaming blocks, and getting up to the linebackers. See if this is legit. If this is something that we can do and be successful with in the NFL, can we establish this run game? Can we let Devin Singletary get in a rhythm and open up the passing game a little bit with the running game rather than the other way around, where it feels like last week and maybe even the week prior, we tried letting the pass game open up the running game. I think we need to change that a little bit this week against the Browns. If we can get the running game going, that will allow some maybe more stacked boxes towards the later half of the game. And that's where we can really let Malik Neighbors win his one-on-one matchups, hopefully against Denzel Ward. That'll be a real test for him, should show us kind of where he is at. Maybe let Wan'Dale Robinson get open a little bit in the middle. You do want to see some deep shots. I just think that's going to kind of be something for show in this game, to be honest with you. At least try to make them respect it, if at all possible. This is going to be a low-scoring game, and I think that's why we really needed to try to do our best to let the run game dictate this. Establish some long drives defensively. Hopefully, we can get into that in a minute here, but really allow the Giants offense to run through Devin Singletary. And I think that's kind of why Brian Daboll brought Devin Singletary here. I think he trusts him. Yes, he had a fumble last week. Yes. Can't do that again. That's a big no-no. But other than that, I mean, he was great last week. He did everything we could have asked, made some nice cuts, broken tackles, missed tackles, really did just about everything you could have asked for him as a running back. And quite truthfully, if we had the ball more, I think that he probably would have had more yards rushing. I think we would have maybe even leaned on him a little bit more. Now, that's a different story probably to really worry about the Giants defense. And maybe let's I guess just jump right over to the Giants defense. Good segue there. Giants defense currently allowing 24.5 points per game. 25th in the NFL, not great. It's an issue. The Giants defense was probably my biggest takeaway from last week was how poor they played. Bend don't break is fine, but when you let them score on every possession, that's an issue. So probably the key to this game, and we'll get to that in a moment, is going to be third down defensively, but we'll kind of jump over to that yet. Obviously, like I mentioned, the defense has not looked great, but the Browns offense is also only averaging 17.5 points per game. And I believe that is actually worse than the Giants. They are also averaging only 265 yards, which is worse than the Giants. Like I mentioned earlier, Deshaun Watson really has not had a great start to the year, and we kind of got to keep that going. We got to pressure the quarterback. We got to try to get some pressure on him, keep him uncomfortable. They are 1-1, so they did beat the Jags, which I believe is a decent team, but they got beat up pretty good by the Dallas Cowboys. So key to this game defensively is pressure on Watson, but most importantly, like I mentioned earlier, third down. Third down is the most important down in this game. The Browns offense is currently one of the worst teams in the NFL, in the league, on third downs, converting just under 14% on their third down attempts, which ranks 31st in the NFL. Now, the Giants defense is probably about average with third down conversions, but it seems like anytime we get into like a third and long situation, we're giving that up, and it's super, super frustrating. We need to tighten up on third down. I'm not overly worried about Deshaun Watson throwing the ball downfield. I don't think he does that very accurately. Tighten up the defense. I don't mind a bend, don't break defense if we can get off the field on third down. It's key. It's paramount to this game. It's something that has to happen. So pressure on Deshaun Watson, getting off the field on third down. Don't let Amari Cooper bait anyone into any of those like double moves or anything of that nature. I do think Amari Cooper is very underrated with his route running capabilities. Keep Deonte Banks on him. Hopefully he can shut him down. He has looked pretty good so far this year. Not great, but not bad by any means. I think he's kind of trending in the right direction so far. Jerry Jeudy, I'm not overly worried about. We'll see. He hasn't done a lot this year. He does have their only touchdown catch, but really something I'm not that worried about. Browns offense, like I mentioned, should be getting their tackles back by the sounds of it. They may not have David Njoku. I would actually be more worried about him in the passing game if he does end up playing as opposed to Amari Cooper or Jerry Jeudy. So if for some reason Njoku does play, you gotta focus in on him. He has beat us pretty badly in the past. Granted, that was Baker Mayfield. That was a completely different team. But that could rear its ugly head if we let it. So defensively, pressure on Deshaun Watson. I don't mind the bend don't break if it's working, but we need to get off the field on third downs. We also need to limit the penalties, and that's kind of been an issue as well, especially on those third down plays. But one thing to keep in mind here, the Browns are one of the most penalized teams in the league, way worse than us. We're in the middle of the pack. They're at the bottom of the pack. So don't let that be a reason that we lose this game. Penalties have kind of cost us quite a few times here in the last couple of games. And I'm not saying that the refs are wrong on a lot of these or anything like that, albeit there are a few that I strongly disagree with, but we can't let that torpedo the game. Andrew Phillips out of that slot. I need you to ball out again like you did. Tyler Newbin control the outsides and the deep half of the field. Kayvon, Brian Burns get some pressure, and Sexy Dexy step up from last week. Quite honestly, you were a little non-existent last week. Now, maybe you were getting doubled a lot. I'm sure you were. Maybe you were even getting tripled. But if that's the case, other guys got to win. It's as simple as that. Deshaun Watson does scramble, so I think that's where Drew Phillips in the slot, and I kind of mentioned this last week, which I'm pretty proud of. I mentioned Drew Phillips in the slot to be able to stop some Jaden Daniels scrambles, and Isaiah Simmons, who didn't really do as much with Isaiah Simmons, but Drew Phillips did great as far as stopping any of those scrambles, getting a few tackles for losses, some sacks, stuff of that nature, and really impressed with what he did. So 3 things that I think that can lead to a victory in this game. Hold Myles Garrett and the Cleveland Browns to 2 sacks or less. They're going to get some pressures. They're going to get theirs. Myles Garrett's all pro. He's all world. He's a great player. But can we control him for the most part? Try not to let him wreck this game. So I think that's key number 1. Hold Myles Garrett and the Cleveland Browns to 2 sacks or less. Let the running game get moving a little bit, like I mentioned, and kind of control that line of scrimmage. Number 2, establish the run. If Devin Singletary and company, Daniel Jones included, can rush over 140 yards between the two of them, that's not all on Devin Singletary, but that's also including Daniel Jones in this with any quarterback scrambles. Maybe Eric Gray or Tyrone Tracy gets a few carries. But rush for 120 yards. Establish the run in this game. We need to reverse the script. This cannot be a pass-heavy game. The Browns will beat us into a pulp if we try to do that. Establish the run, control the clock, keep this low scoring. That may be the only way that we can win this game. Third, get off the field on third down. Like I mentioned above, they're one of the worst teams in converting on third down, under 14%. Keep that going. Don't let them break that streak. That is going to be one of the most important keys to this game defensively. Get off the field on third down. Nothing is more frustrating, and Giants fans, guys watching this, girls watching this, whatever, I'm sure that you can agree here. Nothing is worse when you get to a third down and long, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 13, any of those downs distance-wise, and letting them convert that. Short pass over the middle, nobody's near them, and they just go, or a quarterback scramble, or even a penalty, man. How many times does that happen? Super, super frustrating and super, super annoying. Something that we absolutely cannot have happen in this game. The key player in this game for me is none other than Devin Singletary. Devin Singletary, you are the key to this game. You need to establish the run. You need to keep being shifty. One cuts. I love the one cut. Foot in the ground. Go. Force missed tackles, force broken tackles, do anything you can here to keep this offense on schedule, on track, keep doing what you're doing, but most importantly, hold on to the ball. That fumble cost us last week, and I'm not going to sit here and say that's the only reason we lost, because it's not. There were multiple things that happened, that not having a kicker, Malik Neighbors drop, but that really killed us. So you need to hold on to the ball. If you can run the ball, be successful, we have a damn good chance of winning this game. If we can't, this game is going to get ugly, and I do worry about that. Prediction for the Week 3 game, New York Giants against the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland, 1 o'clock on Sunday. this is going to be a slot fest. I am thoroughly convinced of that, and that's not because of the weather. It's actually supposed to be pretty nice in Cleveland on Sunday. But this will be an ugly game. I think this is going to be a very defensive game. I know our defense we haven't been overly impressed with, but I think the defense will play much better this week. We need to be the least penalized team. We need to turn the ball over, turn the Cleveland Browns over at times, and probably whatever team kicks the most field goals in this game will win this game. And obviously maybe that you don't really like to hear that, especially when we're coming off, signing a brand new kicker and probably having somebody, Greg Joseph, kicking for the first time for the New York Giants. But I think that the Browns defense is just going to be too much in this game. I think they're going to shut down the run a little bit better than maybe I think. I hope that's not true. And as much as it pains me to say, I think it's going to be too much for Daniel Jones and the New York Giants to overcome. I think Daniel Jones is going to throw 2 interceptions, trying to throw the ball into some tight windows. I think we're going to pass a little bit more than we should. I really think that this should be a run-first game, but I don't think we're going to follow that script. Prediction, 18-7, Cleveland Browns win. Pains me to say that. But I guess the last 2 weeks I have predicted the Giants to win, and they didn't. So maybe this will turn things around a little bit. Guys, that's all I got for you today. Obviously, this was a Cleveland Browns, New York Giants preview episode of the game for Sunday. We'll be back probably this week's going to be a little bit weird coming up. Probably try to be back on Monday to review the game. Hopefully the Giants win. And then maybe even Tuesday, we're going to preview the Giants Dallas game on Thursday night next week. I'm actually going to be at that game. I may have a guest on for that episode as well. My buddy Anthony, who's a big Dallas fan, unfortunately, but very insightful and somebody that I think will come with some good knowledge. If you could, please like and subscribe for me. Please enjoy the game on Sunday. Game 3 out of 17. Games are going to be flying quick here moving forward. Love you all. Peace out. Enjoy Sunday. Let's go Giants.